Shalom Yeshua, and this stuff sourced by giving all praise to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Double honors post for GMS and honesty brothers that are doing the work in truth while sincerity. So I'll do a real quick one. This is on the news. It's basically the story is you had a parent, had a child is terminally ill, and the judges and they're all trying to get the child sent over to the States to get some experimental treatment. But judges said no. First, the judges in England said no. But this is the timeline. This is March this year. Judges said no. Get sent over. No, so yeah, judges look at the case. Judges say no. Court of Appeals look at the case. Judges say no. Then the Supreme Court judges say no. 20th of June, European Court of Human Rights look at the case, and today the judges still say no. Basically, going to the point that to prove ultimately, mind you, everything you have is owned by the state. You are a slave, Neo. Absolutely. They had no choice but to basically take what the doctors what the doctor's recommendations were, when really and truly, I mean, from what the story says, baby was gone, man, was through. They said he was gone, he had a rare condition. Basically, Esau owns your children, and has the final word, which is why he can just come and take them away whenever he wants. Right, in this case, he's the one that's had the matter over life and death. Right. This is 2 Ezra 5:8 says, there shall be confusion. There shall be a confusion also in many places, and the fire shall be off sent out again, and the wild beasts shall change their places. And our brother did a good video on that. We've had beasts basically move into territories where they haven't been before, and says, and mentions women shall bring forth monsters, right? And like once again, brother did did a video on what this word monsters really means, talking about basically people with deformities. So when you look at the word monsters and the etymology, might as well just get it. Right, malformed animal or human, right? Creature afflicted with a birth defect. So basically a child born with a birth defect. And this one here, this was a fatal birth defect, man. Right, but it says that his parents are late into their, I don't know, it doesn't say late into their 30s, it says parents are in their 30s. She looks old as all hell. Which is why, they look at these young girls having, children, which obviously, you've got to be responsible, you've got to have, means to actually take care of the child that you have. But, these people will be like, oh no, I don't want to have children. When I'm my 20s, I'll wait. Oh no, I'll have a career, and then I'll have children. But this is what happens. Right, I did some research a while ago, basically going into the fact that the later you have children, the more dangerous it is, the more likely it is that your child's going to come up all fucked up. The more likely it is that you're going to have what would you call it, a miscarriage. I'll do another one on it, spirit will at some point, right? But that's just what it is, right? This is 2 Samuel 12:14, right? This is basically the story between King David after he had committed adultery, and Nathan has just said, "Yo," this is what Nathan says. Howbeit, because by this deed thou hast given great occasion to the enemies of Yahweh to blaspheme. He's saying, the enemies of the Lord would be like, yo, but your man has just committed adultery. This, that, and the other. It says, the child also that is born unto thee shall surely die. Right? And it basically goes into how King David was fasting. I'll jump to the 18th verse. It says, and it came to pass on the 7th day that the child died, and the servants of David feared to tell him that the child was dead, for they said, behold, while the child was yet alive, we spake unto him, and he would not hearken unto our voice. How will he then vex himself if we tell him that the child is dead? When David saw that his servants whispered, David perceived that the child was dead. Therefore David said unto his servants, is the child dead? And they said, he is dead. And then basically King David washes himself, anoints himself, and his servants like, yo, oh, what's going on? This is what it says in verse 22. It says, and he said, while the child was yet alive, I fasted and wept. For I said, who can tell whether the Most High will be gracious to me, that the child may live? Now, I don't know, I don't know whether these guys were Edomites, heathens, or whatever, but they certainly weren't praying that the Lord heal the child, right? They were trusting on Esau's system, which is why he was, they were like, look at all of this, man. From March up until June, they were just trying to fight it to be taken to America for some super experimental treatment that probably wouldn't have worked, which is what the judges said, right? And ultimately that's what it is. If the Most High wants something to happen, that's what's going to happen. That is the law for that child, which is a nice way to segue into Job 4:7. It says, remember, I pray thee, whoever perished being innocent. Like, now people say, how can you say that? How can you say that? Well, that's what the scriptures say. It was the Lord ultimately that was in control of this matter, and look what happened, man. Right? And King David was privy to this, right? He was like, yo, if the Lord is going to save my child, then he will. But if he's not, I can't bring him back. So what's the point in going around crying? He says, can I bring him back again? He says, I shall go to him. But he said, he shall die one day, but he shall not return to me. Basically, that child's not going to come back alive. Right, and on this is Isaiah 31:1 says, woe to them that go down to Egypt for help. It's really talking about Israel, because Israel will be going down to Esau for help for everything, man. If this was a Jake family, for sure, then they would be doing exactly the same thing, trying to beg the court, saying, please, 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 right? um, says, and stay on horses and trust in chariots because they are many, and in horsemen because they are very strong. But they look not unto the Holy One of Israel, neither seek the Lord Yahweh. Right, and that's the main point that I wanted to get from this scriptures. Our people, because they see Esau in his power, they see that they see basically they're drunk off his witchcraft, and they believe that he is, basically they believe that he is God. Esau too, Ezekiel 28. Right, they don't seek the Lord because really and truly, from what it reads in this article, they need a miracle for this child to be saved. Right, so like I said, I just wanted to touch on that real quick with that conversation.